This week in Power Presence, we're going to take a look at air handling with scopes, or another way to put it, what to do when part of your flow fails. In this scenario, we're going to take a look at a purchase order. A common scenario that I see is that you'll have a header and a line, but the line will fail, and then you'll just have basically an empty header with no lines inside the system. Today we'll take a look at using the configure run after to actually delete the header and have a nice clean system. Let's get into it. First, we start off with what I refer to as the action scope. You'll see here that I've renamed my scope to create purchase order to keep things clean. Inside of the scope, you will put the steps that are going to be the action in your typical scenario. So here we just have the headers and the lines. Let's take a look at the next step. This next step is the really important part. You'll add another scope, but then you will go to the ellipses on the right-hand side and select Configure Run After. From there, you will see that it looks at the previous scope, and then you can select when you want it to run. We will select to have this run only when the previous flow has failed. In the next step, we will configure exactly what we want to have happen whenever the previous purchase order scope has failed. Next, we have the error scope. You'll notice at the top there is a red arrow pointing down that has dotted lines. This only appears when you have it for the configure run after for it to be fail. So it lets us know that this will not always run, but only whenever the flow has failed. I always put the compose step in there because it allows me to run a parallel action below that, so I can have it delete the purchase order header and notify the team all at one time. As you can see, all we did is add 2 scopes to a normal flow and then configure the run after. It helps keep your system really clean and really finish off that process instead of having open POs. I'll also note that this configure run after and using scopes can be used in any process, but I just like to give Business Central specific scenarios. Thanks for joining us this week, and as always, keep following us for more Power Presence. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me at mary@worldmaxp2.com.